Hi Aquarius, I hope that everybody's doing well. We're starting off first with one oracle deck and then we are going to get into the tarot. The oracle deck that I'm using is called the Rainbow Brain Skull. It's by Ramin Nazar. He is amazing. So this is the deck that we're using. I pulled a card already so I knew where it was in here just so I can read it. The card says evolve into non-complainer, and the card description says the highest vibration one can achieve is to be okay with any outcome. Like the monk from all those stories would often say after any bad thing happened, so. Maybe some wisdom one needed to hear at this point. Something we can all be reminded of. Okay. The reading is going to be whatever you need to hear right now. I think we're going to go with this deck. I'm feeling a pretty open energy. Like tuned in. That's what the vibe is feeling like. All right, we're starting off with the Knight of Wands. This is showing you in a playful position. It can be a motivated position. It can be one where you feel like you're really in touch with what's driving you, or at least hearing that call, whether you've taken action on this or not. Having judgment is about looking at this. It's looking at what's motivating you. It's looking at like what you're doing when certain things are motivating you and making sure that you're really seeing behind it. The thing with the Knight of Wands, just like having judgment come out here, there can be a notion here of wanting to make sure that as much as it's an amazing thing to be present with what you're doing and to be going off of instinct, Knight of Wands can sometimes be a little short-sighted, where it can be like, well, I want to do this now, and then you do the thing then, and then be like, look at all this stuff that happened because I did that then, and I didn't realize how this was going to affect that, and that, and that, and that thing over there too. So there can be something going on right now where you're feeling this part of yourself that wants to like go and do certain things, and then judgment is about being able to like zoom out and see more and like understand more about this. I'm seeing the Five of Cups, so there may have been something that happened potentially where you were just like going off of what you were feeling, maybe didn't think about something. That can be something coming up. This can also be connected with another person too, depending. We'll get further and see. I'm gonna say, just like for the sake of not confusing the narrative, we'll say that you are the Knight of Wands, and if you feel like it's another person, then just attribute that to them. The thing about this particular Knight of Wands in this deck, so Knight of Wands is when you're feeling something, it's about moving sort of to the rhythm of that. So you're getting this inspiration or you feel motivated by something. This Knight of Wands, particularly this card, you see how it has that on its back? This is a card of needing to do things in a way that is balanced, because if the Knight of Wands within you is not balanced, it means that you impulsively do things. And sometimes those things may work out for you. Other times it may lead you into a situation where it's like, oh, I didn't realize this was going to be the outcome only because I didn't think about it. So that's why judgment is here. Judgment is connected with Pluto. It's connected with like a Scorpio sort of energy. So this can be about like what needs to change. It can be like your relationship between like your feelings, your inspiration, your creativity, what drives you, what motivates you, and again, like what you're doing with it. And judgment is about like before you take action, it can be about reflecting on those things so you feel informed when you're making choices, when you're making decisions. I am seeing Eight of Swords, so there can be something that you've been like focused on. You can be worried about something. You could be feeling stuck. You could be feeling stagnant. Maybe you're trying to see like what's holding you back on a level 2. All right. Feel a little bit stressed. I'm seeing 10 of Wands here, connected with 8 of Swords. 8 of Swords is feeling like there being some type of repression. And 10 of Wands is feeling like maybe you feel like you're all on your own to sort of deal with this. See how the 10 of Wands is sort of alone in this field? It's like I'm dealing with something. I'm feeling like it's almost closing in on me and I'm feeling stressed out. This can be like I feel like there's a lot to do, or I feel like I'm the only one that's doing this, or I feel like there's a lot resting on me, or this is like just really heavy lifting energetically, or like this can also be too that like in the beginning you see the Knight of Wands, which is somebody like I have so much energy, and then ending over here is like now I have all of these things. Like this can be getting excited and signing yourself up for like a million different things, and then getting to this point and being like, how am I gonna do all of this? So it feels like it's also about like you being realistic here too with what you're doing. This can be with like your hopes, with your expectations. I get this feeling of feeling like shut down in some way, and it feels like a stark contrast because like starting with the Knight of Wands, it's not you feeling like this. Knight of Wands is like you have caffeine and you're like running all over the place and you feel really excited about things and you're ready to take on like life and the world and the adventure that you're having. And then when we end with 10 of Wands, it's like feeling like there's way too much going on. There's not enough energy. There's not enough time in the day, like that type of thing. And also like feeling shut down. And 8 of Swords too can be like having issues with the throat chakra, where the throat chakra is connected with your Mercury energy. So it's connected with you like saying things when it needs to be said, but also like intuitively listening as well. So there can be something going on with Judgment and 8 of Swords where like your voice is needed at times, and you may feel at times like when you want to do something or when you want to say something or when you need to figure certain things out that it's not being expressed, and then you're stuck here with all this stuff to do when it's like in the beginning it seemed so exciting and there was so much motivation. Now you get to this point where it's like you're not having a good time with whatever this is, or at least like some of you could feel like because this person is out in the night, you can feel like you're working like way past your hours, or that you had energy for a certain like span of time, and because maybe you weren't like organized with it or something like that, then you end up having to do things like later and later and later. It just feels like one of those things where maybe if there was more of a sense of organization or like being aware of what one is taking on, that this can be helpful. We're going to get more context. That can just be an example for how this can be working. But more than anything, like for each of you that are resonating with this reading, it's about what you are signing yourself up for, especially when you're like up for doing those things and thinking about like, am I going to want to then have to complete those things? Like if you sign the check, can you cash it? Yeah, I'm seeing plans be involved in this, like plans, planning, decisions, what you're taking on. We have 2 of Wands here. It's like, do I do it this way? Do I do it that way? What do I do here? And Judgment is about, instead of you having all these things coming at you and you being like, I'll just do all of it, it's about you actually paying attention and being like, what of this do I deliberately want to sign on for? Even if I feel like I have all of the energy right now, what do I really significantly and deliberately want to be putting my energy into? Because it feels at times like this Judgment card feels like there's a little bit of a block if one is unwilling to really reflect. And for some of you too, this may be a blockage because you don't want to say something. So it can be like a bunch of things being placed in front of you. This can even be like something that has nothing to do with work at all, as far as like an external job. This can be, you have like 10 people calling you during the day, and then you're like, I'm gonna get on the phone with this person, and then, hey, I'll call you back too. And then it's like, before you know it, you're like completely drained, and then you don't have the energy to do other things that you really wanted to do for the day. So this can be like anywhere where maybe there are like boundaries or something like that. But having this Judgment card, which is about like looking at things and analyzing it and seeing the truth, and these people having these like covers over them where it's like there's this seeking for the light, there's this seeking for the truth, but they have like these veils on them. And then having 8 of Swords is feeling like why maybe those veils are there, and it can be because you need to like advocate for yourself. I see this specific 8 of Swords as being like a throat chakra one, where somebody feels like they can't speak up about something. Or like there's not a movement going on in the throat chakra. So that can be why you want to like keep something covered and not look at it, because if you're like honest with yourself about this, it may mean that you need to say something, and that may feel really stressful for you. So you may just be taking on everything instead of like deliberately planning things out. But now you're feeling like this would be impacting you in some way, where something is just feeling really, really heavy. Like you may be experiencing signs of stress and things that are related to that. Like lethargy, lack of motivation, could be feeling like sad, you could be feeling depressed, whatever it is that you want to call it, like those sorts of things. When you are making plans, you have to ask yourself which of those things you actually want to be doing. You're not taking on plans just because they're there, but this is asking, like, which of these things do you want to do? You don't need to do all of these things unless you want to. 8 of Cups is about being really mindful to not be signing yourself up for things that feel empty, and then be surprised when you feel empty when you end up doing those things. So you may be making some type of plan to not participate in something. This can also be like a general thing. It doesn't have to be like one main event. This can be like, from now on, I'm going to be mindful to not obligate myself to do things that I feel are empty or lacking, or leave me wishing that I would have put all of my energy into this other thing rather than 10% in everything. Yeah, so some of you, there can even be things that are still like in the planner to be done that you're looking at and being like, why did I sign myself up for this? And then you may be opting out of those things. Taking the pressure of obligation off, but this isn't just automatically going to pop up. It's something that you're going to have to make the effort to actually look at, is what I'm seeing. So it looks like that's where the focus is. Like, do you want to be doing these certain things and sort of like going through stuff? Again, it feels particularly associated with like plans that you may have, like things that you could have signed on for or signed up to do, like those types of things. And if you want to be doing those things or not. This is like a whole learning experience. So it's also too about remembering that you're in a position where this is something that you're basically like the student of. But But if you're shut down like this, it's going to be really difficult for you to be receptive and to glean what you need to glean from this. I want to clarify this Eight of Swords and see if there's more insight. What's with the Eight of Swords? Breaking out of old patterns. Some of you also too, uncommitting yourself from certain things. Not just for no reason, it's things that you feel are not aligned with you on an internal level. I'm seeing that be really important. This is like knowing how your fire energy and how your water energy, how they're connected with one another. Like when you're depleting your life force in the most basic of senses, like fire is your life force, right? It's like that spark of light, that's where it comes from. When you're like depleting that or overexerting it or like abusing that aspect of your energy, where there's like you're not regulating it properly, then there are going to be issues emotionally that you're experiencing too. So for some of you, you could feel like you have some emotional stuff that's going on because you're meant to be like packing up your stuff and continuing to move rather than staying with certain things that you feel you're not, there's not a sense of fulfillment within that. Like there's not a sense of joy within that. Like there's not that spark within that for you. Page of Swords is you may not even necessarily be making these moves yet where you're like, I'm signing off from this. You may just be like sort of jotting this down and recognizing like, oh, this is something that when I'm doing it, I don't feel inspired, or I've really been dreading this thing that's coming up for me. That's not to say everything that you find as being like difficult or challenging is not in alignment. But it's to say that, like, you know in your heart when you do honest self-reflection, if there are certain things where you're like, this feels really out of place within my life and I'm only doing it because I've obligated myself to be doing it, and I do not feel a sense of fulfillment because I know that this does not align with me and my emotional values, my internal values, the things that matter to me on an internal level that are connected with my joy and my fulfillment. And that's why I'm feeling empty, or that's why I'm feeling sad, or that's why I'm feeling like I don't want to get up in the morning, like those types of things. That's why I'm having that problem with my back, you know? However it is that it's manifesting. So having Page of Swords feels like if you are in a spot where you're like, I'm not ready to take action on this yet, it's just about collecting information right now. So don't stress yourself out thinking like, I have to cancel this and then I have to talk to them about that, and then just stressing yourself out further. Right now it's just about observing. What in particular, like what are the most stressful things that you are dealing with right now? Good place to start. And if nothing's coming to mind, you wait until you get to a point in your day when you're present with yourself and you're like, this is really stressing me out, and you acknowledge that. Keep tabs on it, write it down. There's going to be a whole trail that you'll be able to follow, and you'll be able to make connections too, because it seems like that's what a lot of this is about right now, just making connections. Yeah, you don't need to take action right now until you're ready. It's just about recognizing, because I'm seeing you're slowly like pulling yourself away from something that's difficult to pull yourself away from. You see how these people are trying to like individuate from this, like pulling themselves out of this. This is something that you're sort of pulling yourself out of, something that had been keeping you in certain cycles where you were feeling stuck, where it's like there's that like never-ending goalpost that you're trying to move towards. It's like pulling yourself away from that completely, like taking yourself out of that game. Having Knight of Wands and having Temperance, means for now, Knight of Wands again is going to be like, I want to do this, I want to do that. Like you're having these impulsive feelings. Temperance is about tempering those things, so you're not signing yourself up for a bunch more things. When I say signing yourself up, this can be like any type of action that you're doing where you're not thinking about like the long-term effects, or not thinking about the consequences, or not checking in with yourself about it to be like, is this actually aligned? Because there may be certain things that you've been doing where you're like reacting emotionally rather than doing things from a balanced place emotionally. Then feeling like because of the erratic energy, because of the inconsistency, it's leaving you feeling like there's a lack of ability to build what you're trying to build. Then also potentially like being in denial about seeing these certain things, and then feeling a sense of like anxiety that you could be experiencing, feeling stuck mentally, feeling foggy mentally. And then temperance here is about sort of like working with these energies. I'm hearing fluoxetine. That's a medication. Hold on. Let me look this up. That's specifically coming through. Maybe there's stuff about medication. I don't know. It's an SSRI. Interesting. Yeah, so maybe stuff with mental health that's going on. It says it can treat depression, OCD, among other things. So yeah, maybe you have some stuff that's going on, and that can also like be a metaphor or just like an example for dealing with stuff right now where you feel mentally like you're not at peace with something, or you're not feeling at ease, or you're feeling like something is blocked, or like something isn't functioning like as well as it could be, like those types of things. And sort of figuring out like the puzzle, like putting that together. But I'm seeing it's happening kind of, you may feel like this is a stressful time to be doing this. Because I'm seeing too, for some of you, you have some things that are coming up. Some of you have plans that are coming up. Some of you just like the idea of certain things that you know are sort of ahead could be stressing you out right now. You could also like need to plan for things, and planning sometimes could feel stressful where you're like, it's easier to just do things on the fly and like go with my instinct, but then you're finding yourself in this situation. So it would be only to correct that if you're wanting to correct something. So yeah, the reading is just, if you're looking for something to be helpful, this is the current advice. I'm seeing strong Sag energy, and I'm also looking at Pluto, and I'm seeing Capricorn on the bottom of the deck as well. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.